One of the things that I can't stand is when people mistreat other people. You better believe I remember 99.9% of the times where I've mistreated other people. Alan could ask me on a podcast, hey, remember that time? Yes, I do. Yep, I know exactly which one you're talking about. And we talk about it often. I got to go back and figure out what was going on. Why did I do that? I was looking for significance. I was trying to get my needs met, and I did it in a not so constructive way. Let me go back there. Let me take ownership. And then let me own the fact that I can do better.
Well, welcome to Shift Talking. Thank you for being here. I was able
to,
I had the honor, of course, of interviewing Alan a few weeks ago.
Oh, you did?
And we had a really beautiful conversation as well. And so I'm very much looking forward to this conversation with you too, to see how you guys met and vibed and matched up.
You're going to realize, and you probably already have realized, or if you haven't, you'll realize very quickly that we are very, very different humans. So it's always interesting when you have both of us on. But I'm very grateful. I did my research. I love what you're doing in the world, and my goal is to add value. So I'm excited.
Yeah, I mean, you already have, I'm sure. So tell me all about your experience. Even just from what I've learned about you in a very brief time, some people find rock bottom. I found that rock bottom has a basement.
Unfortunately. Yeah. So I was raised by my mom and my grandmother. I didn't know my dad. I didn't meet my dad with the understanding that he was my dad until I was 27. So that plays a role in a young man's life for sure. Lower middle class, didn't have a lot of money, overheard often that we couldn't pay rent. Like that was fairly common thing that I heard. Here's the weird thing. Outside of that, my childhood was quote unquote normal, whatever normal means. Where things got wonky was in high school, I knew pretty early on that I just didn't want to go to college. I wasn't somebody who enjoyed school. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life, and it just didn't make sense to me to pay a drastic amount of money to figure it out. So I started to train to fight professional mixed martial arts. That's what I started doing that in high school. I was like, that would be a really cool job. Let me give this a shot. So after high school, all my friends went away to college, and I was doing this training, and I got a job at the local gas station. And that was my first big boy job. Then I left there and I cleaned bathrooms and floors overnight at a hospital. I was a personal trainer. I was a truck driver. I was a forklift operator, construction, tiling, HVAC, all the things. And at this point, I'm probably 23. And I remember having a very humbling moment of, I think I made a mistake by not going to college. Like now the rubber is starting to hit the road and I feel like I might be in trouble. And this might not work out the way I thought it was going to work out. Eventually I got a job in an industry called weatherization. So our company would go into schools, anything that was state owned or government owned. And it was our job to make the buildings more energy efficient. The beautiful part of that is you're getting paid by the state and or government. So I went from making $15 an hour to anywhere from $60 to $120 an hour.
Yeah, it's a big jump. Especially for that age.
Yeah. So in my mind, I'm now successful. I did it.
Sure.
Everything worked out.
Yeah.
So if you fast forward a year or two, I was 25. I had this great job. I was getting ready to compete in a bodybuilding show. So I was quite literally in the best shape I will ever be in. My girlfriend at the time was a model. I had a nice car, brand new apartment, great friends, all of the things.
Checked all the boxes on paper.
All of them. Yes. Mm-hmm. The paper was looking good.
Yeah.
Internally, it was a completely different story. I was depressed. I was anxious. I was self-conscious, low self-worth, no self-belief, just riding the struggle bus. My girlfriend sits me down one day and says, hey, I'm leaving. You're not the man that I aspire to be with. And she didn't do it in a mean way. This was very it was good eventually, right? I learned the lesson eventually. So she ended up leaving. And this is the initial rock bottom start. She said, I was going to leave last month, but I was afraid you might kill yourself. And I remember thinking how the hell did we get here? How did we get this low? And how did I miss all of the warning signs? How did we get here? So she left. My bills doubled because we were living together.
All right. Yeah.
That sucks. Work got super slow very fast. I was definitely dealing with the eating disorder. So perfect storm of just mayhem. That was my initial rock bottom. This is the part I'd love to say I figured out self-improvement and personal development, and I went all in. I didn't. I convinced myself that I just needed to make a boatload of money. Like, even more money will fix all the problems. So I got promoted at my job. We got super busy. And then I ended up spending the next 10 months living on the road because our contracts were all over the place. We got to the end of that year. Just an absolute grind. I was standing at my kitchen table because my ex-girlfriend, they were her chairs, so she took them. And I was never home, Davina, so I just never bought new chairs. It just didn't make sense. So I'm standing there, open my final pay stub. And I made $100,000 at 26 with no college degree. And I still felt terrible about myself. Like, probably worse than I had ever felt. I did what any young man would do. I tried to reflect. And I realized that for most of my life, I had lived unconsciously. The opposite of unconscious is hyperconscious. So I started a podcast in 2017 called the Hyperconscious Podcast. Fell in love with it. I love it. I love it. But as you know, in the beginning, there's not exactly a line out the door of people saying, this is a great idea. How much money do we need? How much do you need to get this going, right? So I had to keep going to this job that I just started to loathe this job because I was there for the money. I made the money. The money didn't fix the problems. I'm done. I'm on to the next thing. So every time I would be packing my suitcase to travel for the week, I'd be depressed. I'd be anxious. I'd be homesick. I'd see my friends like one day a week. I couldn't hold down a steady relationship because I was never home. It was bad. And it was just getting worse quickly. So I start calling out of work. I start leaving the job sites early. I start showing up late. Eventually, I woke up in a hotel room in New Jersey, which is like 6 hours from where I lived, getting ready for work. Alarm clock went off. I sat up, slid to the edge of the bed. I was lacing up my work boots. Did 1,000 times before. But that morning, it was like there was 10 televisions on in my head at the same time. And every single one is on a different station. One is saying you're stuck here forever. Kev, you're not supposed to even be successful. You're not supposed to be here. There's no way you can leave this job and ever achieve anything. There's no chance that happens. If you did leave, what would your friends say? I'm the guy who buys food for everybody. I'm the guy who pays for everything. Like, whatever. So much significance tied up in there. So much of my identity is tied up in there.
Right. And being a provider.
Being a provider. Yeah, I'm huge on that. I'm huge on that. What's your family going to think? You're the most successful person in your family by far ever. Like, what's you're going to lose all of that. And then the loudest thing was, do you really think you're going to be a successful podcaster? Like, we're going to leave this behind and then we're just going to go all in on this podcast thing. And it was in that moment where I thought to myself, well, if I was just to take my life, I would take all my problems with me. And that was the rock bottom basement. It doesn't get much worse than that. What do I do and where do I start? And luckily, Alan was a really good friend and honestly a mentor at the time. So I reached out to him and explained what I was thinking and what I was feeling and what I was dealing with. And he gave me some really good advice. He helped me paint a new perspective, a new picture. I ended up leaving that job 2 or 3 months later. And then him and I partnered up and we started this podcast thing together full time in 2018. So that was kind of the journey. And real quick, I like to add this because oftentimes people will say it required a lot of strength. It required a lot of vulnerability to reach out to Alan. I would be lying if I said it was hard. We had a really good relationship. I had been vulnerable with him. We had cried together. We were really, really good friends at that point. What I always say is you have to build the umbrella long before the storm comes. We had the relationship. It wasn't hard for me to reach out. It was more, am I willing to or not? And luckily I was, and now we have a business together and life is strange.
How did you guys get connected in the first place?
We went to middle school together. I played spin the bottle at Alan's house with the popular girls. So I peaked.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I peaked too early. And then we went to high school together and we weren't really good friends because he was super smart and I was one of the captains of the baseball team and we just didn't get along. He went and did the college thing. I went and did my thing. And then we reconnected at a party and he was in really good shape and I was in really good shape. He had a beautiful girlfriend. He had left his almost $200,000 a year job to be an entrepreneur. It was like something different about that guy. I need to get around that dude. So then we kind of started hanging out, getting Chipotle together, working out together, and it evolved. Yeah, it evolved from there.
It sounds like even though you two are very different, you still gravitated toward one another. What do you think that was?
We were both raised by women. Neither of us had a dad in the picture. So his dad passed away in a car accident when he was 2. I think that was a really big piece of it. And I think the other thing is, like, we both really want to help people to our own detriment. Like, we are heroes. We are martyrs. We've had to learn how to try to be guides more than heroes. We've always wanted to help people, and we've always wanted to be the type of people that we needed when we were struggling. And I think we try to do it, from a positive masculine lens, like not toxic masculinity. That's the other thing. I struggle with men, like genuinely. When I saw you on my calendar today and I reviewed like what you're doing, I was like, this is going to be amazing. I almost never clash heads with women, but with men, I'm still working through like the fear of disappointment. I'm still working through a lot of the stuff from my dad not being around. So there's something about feeling safe for me with a man, and Alan and I have always had that together. So I think that's a really big piece too.
Yeah, I mean, I do know just from, of course, my husband and his experiences and really just working with so many men. And my primary specialty was anger management for quite some time. It still is. I've just rebranded it so that it doesn't carry the stigma. But there's always been that of this deep level of loneliness amongst men, and even in their friend groups, even in the closest relationships that they have, there's not really an emphasis on kind of going deep with each other or talking about struggles. It's like kind of just fucking with each other and joking around and that kind of stuff. But that's what we hear often, is that men suffer in silence, I think, more than anybody. And that's why, it's the highest suicide rate population. It's the highest homicide rate population. There's a lot there. So now, even now, knowing that you've been able to find success in leaning into the vulnerability and really just being transparent, right? Mm-hmm. You're still experiencing a good amount of clash with other men who don't value that system, or what do you think that is?
I think there's a guy at my gym. This is a really good example. There's a guy, I tell my wife about it all the time. It's like the chronicles of me and this dude at the gym.
Yeah.
It's a whole thing.
Yeah.
He's just toxic. And he's just said too much toxic shit for me to be okay with it. And there's two things. Either I have the courage to be like, hey man, I'm just not interested in pursuing any level of connection with you. Here's a list of reasons why. Or I just kind of give him subtle hints that I don't. It's more the fact that I just don't vibe with him. And honestly, I don't want to be associated with the person that he is. It doesn't make me feel good. I feel like I have to be somebody that I'm not. And I was never the guy who would, like, in high school talk about, like, oh yeah, I was with my girlfriend and this. That's not who I am.
The locker room talk
I don't
that
like
we
it.
Hear all about. Yeah.
I was raised by women.
You're not going to objectify them.
Yeah, no, I don't want to do that. And that always kind of separated me from other men. Like, I'm just not interested in that. It doesn't do anything for me. So I think that's a big piece of it. And then I don't know. I think vulnerability is awesome. And I think it's strong as hell if you're vulnerable. I know there are some people maybe more focused on business that don't want to talk about that type of stuff, but I think it's super important to talk about. And yeah, it's not always welcome everywhere, but I mean, it is what it is, right? That's the mission that we're on, and we're going to keep on trekking, my friend.
Yeah, I mean, I think that there is that responsibility. I was just talking to another therapist, female therapist, who we were talking about how much men struggle. And I work a lot with parents within the first 10 years of parenting, because it just rocks our entire identity. And if we aren't prepared in ourselves or in our relationship, a lot of them go sideways. 4 years ago, my husband and I nearly divorced over the stressors that parenting presented for us. And when we were talking about this experience for men, there was that part that, of course, there is a certain kinship that we can experience with men of being the nurturers and the mothers and the sisters and the wives. And I also think that it has to come from more men too, of course, of also men to seek men to do this work with instead of worrying that they're going to be viewed as soft or viewed as somehow lesser in some way. Because even men perpetuate this, like male therapists can perpetuate this, female therapists can perpetuate this. And there's that part that I wonder what the block is, because we know that men are really desperate for connection and being seen and heard and understood. And yet somehow these narratives tell them that would somehow work against them, even though we know that that's what would help us most. And it just feels like this chicken or the egg, but either way, they're both here and they're both causing suffering.
I think the hard part is what happens often is you're friends with a group of, I'll just use myself as an example. I'm friends with a group of men. I play baseball with these men in high school. Then we're friends. We hang out. We party. We kind of figure out life. We have serious relationships. Go away to college. Okay, cool. Somebody eventually has to go first. I was the guy who was into personal development, and a lot of my other friends weren't yet. And I was the guy who was hyper-focused on self-awareness and being the most healthy masculine man I could be and just being a good man and figuring my shit out. I started by saying, I love you and hugging my friends after we would hang out. And in the very beginning, it was strange and very weird and very uncomfortable. Then eventually it became normal. Somebody has to go first. And I think it's just really hard when you're known as a certain person in a friend group to then show up one day and be like, hey, brother, I love you. Give me a hug.
Yeah.
I think it's that courage. And to your point, if there's any fear of rejection, if there's any fear of I'm going to get ostracized from the group, are the rest of the guys going to talk about me when I'm not here, then it doesn't seem worth it. And I think that's like for me, it felt worth it because where I'm going, we're going to have to be vulnerable. This is who I am. This is who I'm becoming. If the way that I live my life and I try to show up is not cool with you, that's totally fine. I'm not going to be close with you. I don't have time for that. I want people in my life that want to grow and want to be more authentic and dig into the stuff. So I have to lead. So I think somebody has to choose to lead. And I just think you have to have a really clear understanding that it will be worth it. Because if it's not worth it, you're probably not going to do it.
Yeah. And I mean, it seems like your experience, you've had a very high distress tolerance from the beginning, right? Like going to different jobs, meeting new and different people, learning new in different industries, right? Like there is that part that what I am hearing is that you, even though there was maybe low feelings of self-worth, there were still these parts of efficacy that like, I can get this done. And even if I do get ostracized, I will figure it out. And I'm wondering if that's maybe what works against so many men, because if their friend group is seemingly all that they have and all that they can see themselves having, they won't risk the loss of that.
Well, I wonder if it's just is simple, and again, not really, but my core wound is I'm defective and I'm not going to be successful. I move on from relationships very quickly because I don't think I'm going to be able to succeed. Never mind if you're holding me back. So I'm not afraid of being alone. I have like 3 friends. I don't care. Whatever. It's fine. That's not the way I'm wired. But I think I'm strange in that. I'm unique in that. Where I think a lot of other people one of their deepest fears is being alone. So of course they're going to play whatever part they have to play in order to make sure that the people in their lives stay. I don't know. You would know way better than I would. I always felt different, not by choice. So when I started to get the choice to be different, I started to try to be different. I got judged all the time. When I worked at the gas station, people would be like, oh, you have a fight yet? Oh, you should really get a plan B. Like, that's never going to work. Whatever. Let me do my thing. This is cool. I'm trying to do something really cool. Like, let me do my thing. When I got the job that paid so well, it required me to travel so much. And people just were like, how are you just going to spend the year on the road? It's like, yeah, that's what I have to do. This is what it takes. In 2019, Alan and I spent the entire month of December, we lived in Florida with a mentor. And one of my friends, he was like, you're going to miss Christmas and New Year's? I was like, brother, there's a bunch of those. Like I get to chase my dreams. So there's always a part of me that has gotten significance from being different. And I think in the beginning I was afraid of the significance. That was a big piece of it. And then for some reason, I've always kind of enjoyed suffering. For whatever reason, I wanted to be a professional fighter. I wanted to be a professional wrestler when I was younger. And I resonated the most with the wrestlers that like got beaten the worst. I was like, I want to be that guy. Because there is significance in that uniqueness. There is significance. My cousin beat the crap out of me with a wiffle ball bat. He used to throw me in thorn bushes. I loved it, Davina. I was like, this is awesome. This is awesome. That has carried over nicely to entrepreneurship because it has been a journey for sure. But yeah, I think I just enjoyed the significance that came with uniqueness when it felt like I was in control of it, as opposed to when it was like circumstantial.
Or placed upon you.
Or placed upon me.
So you almost welcome the bigger hits because it felt like you were actively open to them versus it being done to you.
Yeah, and I felt like there was somebody would see it and find value in it. It would be like appreciated. It would be appreciated. I don't know. There's a part of me that like really respects people who have self-destructive habits. Not that harm others, but like I used to watch hockey and I love the enforcers that fight. I love that. I love somebody who sticks up for somebody else, even at their own detriment. Like
it's powerful.
About that. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. So how do you prevent yourself from leaning too far into any sort of self-sabotage or anything like that? How do you know where to draw the line?
I've definitely gone too far enough where I can tell when I'm trending that way. But for me, I don't know. My self-sabotage is usually like jumping into hero. Like, oh, this person needs me. Let me do something that's hyper unsustainable. This is how I've tried to do it. I don't say yes to something unless I know it's sustainable and I can actually follow up.
Yeah.
That's been a really important lesson for me. So, as I mentioned at the top, I didn't meet my dad until I was 27. I was sitting on my couch one day going through my Facebook messages. I was 27 at the time. Saw a message in a folder that is message requests from people that you're not friends with. It's like, I didn't even know this existed. Okay. You could see the first line because that's how they get you. Hey, Kevin, I'm blank. I'm your father's girlfriend. And I remember thinking, no. It's Saturday. We are not doing this today. No. Curiosity got the best of me.
Yeah,
so
you'd never leave that alone.
Can't leave that alone.
No.
All right, here we go. Hey, Kevin, I'm blank. I'm your father's girlfriend. He has seen you on Facebook. It seems like you're doing really well. And if you would like the opportunity to meet, he would really like that. I didn't see the message for 3 years. They sent that 3 years prior. Didn't see it. Didn't know it was there. So I end up working through, like, is this something I want to do? It's a whole thing. So I go and meet my dad. I go to a diner. We meet halfway. Very humbling getting there, sitting down in a booth, realizing I don't know what he looks like. So this is going to be like more awkward than I thought, probably. I see a guy walk by the window. Somehow I knew that's him. I get the ringing, tingling, like, it's familiar. That seems familiar. Is about as awkward as maybe you can imagine if you've never had this experience. Just strange, crying. I'm stoic. You're going to get nothing out of me. Apologies, all that stuff. A couple things came from that. One, I had a very interesting moment where I was looking across the table and I realized that I had done more work on myself in probably the last 2 years of my life than he had done in all of his years. So I had a lot of empathy for his life. I felt bad for the way his life turned out. Second piece was I was able to somewhat depersonalize the fact that I don't think he woke up one day and decided he wanted to wreck my life. I don't think that's what happened. Right? I'm sure it was a series of events that unfolded that I just can't comprehend yet. That was a big piece. And then the third big piece was I realized that I gave him so much power as a villain in my life when he was not capable of handling almost any of it.
Yeah, it's his first time living too.
Yeah, he couldn't. He's not capable of what I've made him out to this monster that he couldn't possibly be if he tried. So I ended up seeing him a couple times after. I had a son-dad relationship for a short time. And eventually it got to the point where he would just call me out of the blue. He would text me. He'd get frustrated if I didn't respond right away. And the last thing, I posted a picture of my wife and I on Facebook. He commented, "The mustache has to go." That was it. Nothing else. No, your wife is beautiful. I'm so proud. No, the mustache has to go. Sir, read the room. Read the room, sir. Now is not the time. So I let that relationship die. The reason I let that relationship die, and I think this was the first time I ever really understood this, I'm not willing to do what it takes to create sustainability. And if I was, I would be doing it for somebody else, not myself. And that would be me being a hero. Oh, you weren't there for most of my life? I don't want you to feel the pain that I felt. Let me make sure I go above and beyond to make sure you're taken care of.
Right.
If I ever feel that, if I feel like I'm trending towards that, I know that I'm skating on thin ice.
Yeah, what I'm hearing is a certain sense of savior, right? Like, you know what it's like to struggle, to go through these things. You want to help prevent other people from experiencing similar, but you will likely sacrifice you in the process. So now that's your sign.
I can handle the pain. It's not going to kill me. I can handle it. If you can't, I can. I can do it. I can handle the pain. And I don't want you to have to do it at all. I don't want you to have to do it alone. And if I can take a little bit of the cut, I'm in. I'll do it. Which is detrimental.
And how do you work around or work through, rather, the knowing that you might be disappointing other people? Because I know that when we start doing this work, and I am like the massive people pleaser, right? Like, that's where my whole world came from. And so when I really started doing this work and setting more boundaries for myself, and then of course that rippled into other people being affected by them, it's still something that now I still have such a deep sense of awareness of their disappointment. And it takes a lot of self-talk and a lot of work for myself to remind me that, like, that's okay. So what advice would you have for somebody who is maybe just starting in this work, for men who are just starting in this work, to sit with that?
I would rather disappoint somebody else than myself. I'd rather disappoint somebody else, because if I disappoint myself, I'm going to regret it. It's a boundary. I had somebody text me today, like 3 hours ago, and say, "Hey, I hate to ask, but is there any way you can help me do this thing today?" And I was like, "No, I'm on podcast till 5:00 tonight. Like, no, I can't just come over and help you with something." And I literally had a conscious thought of, that's going to be an issue. That person's going to look at me differently. And then it was, I don't really expect them to understand, I guess. I'm going to go do my thing. So I don't know if I have a really good example or a really good suggestion or advice, other than I think you'll thank yourself for it. And I try to think of it as like I just put a coin in the bank. That was an investment. Like, saying no was an investment, even though it was super uncomfortable. And I definitely have improved when it comes to setting boundaries, because I believe the thing that I'm doing is more important. As weird or as hard to hear as that might be, it's like it's more important for me to go be on these 5 podcasts today than it is to help you do what you asked me to do. This is my mission. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. That, and I'm okay with that. I have to be okay with that. Yeah. But I don't know if I have a great answer, honestly, because I'm still trying to figure it out very clearly. Well,
yeah, I mean, it's a hard thing to work through, especially when we are kind of very much conditioned in that, like, men, it's your job to provide for others and protect. And for women, it's your job to nurture and emotionally protect. Mm-mm. And so whenever those things come up where it might lead to somebody not viewing us in the way that we are, quote unquote, supposed to be viewed, it can kind of rock us. Yeah. And I like that idea of the the investment into yourself, because I typically use the emotional debt, or even just a debt in general, that I accrued so much debt with myself over my decades that when I started doing this work, I almost felt crushed by it. Like, how am I ever going to pay this down?
Yeah.
Right? Like, I won't even touch the principal. This is all just interest at this point, right? Like, how am I actually going to get there? And we can get so bogged down and so overwhelmed by the idea of like, this is just such a massive undertaking. How am I supposed to chip away at it without just losing all hope? And it is through those types of things of keeping promises to ourselves. And that's what I think that the hardest part is if we don't know where our boundaries lie or where our limitations are, we will constantly self-sacrifice and paint it as like just being a good person.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's helpful for me that I have really big goals because I can see in real time. It's like, oh, I have to choose between this and growing the business. The business is my livelihood and it is my family's livelihood. And I need to figure out a way to make this happen. So there's more necessity than like, well, I just don't want to do it. I don't really want to. There's like, I have deeply meaningful pain if I don't. Do I want to go to the movies? Yeah, sure. I have stuff to do. I have 100 clients. Like, there's stuff I have to do. So oftentimes the boundary is not even like a self-created one. It's actually a concrete boundary that's real. So it's easy to blame something that's real as opposed to like, I just don't want to do it, you know?
Yeah. And that's what I think is one of the hardest parts in entrepreneurship, especially for me, is that there's this perception probably of myself as well, that I'm my own boss and therefore I can instill flexibility where I would like it to be. Whereas the people in my life who work for others, if their boss says no, it's a no.
Yeah.
And there's like, oh God, that that personal boundary for myself is something that I'm just now getting good at, starting to get better at rather. And there is kind of that. And so when we take that within entrepreneurship and we apply it into our lives, if we don't kind of take ownership over our time, our energy, our effort, our existence, then anything will say, well, it's flexible. I can do this part-time instead of full, and then we lose ourselves.
Well, yeah, as an entrepreneur, you can work full-time. You still might not get full-time results. You're working part-time. There could be troubled times ahead. I think it starts with an understanding of what is the expectation. I think that's a really important. I think a lot of people get into it because they think that, right? Oh, I'll be my own boss. I can make my own schedule. Yes and yes. But unfortunately, sometimes having more time makes life harder because then you have to figure out where to put it. And I think as an entrepreneur, and I'm connecting this live because of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
One of the powerful skills to practice as an entrepreneur is disappointing people because you will have to. Most likely, unless you just have the most amazing supportive people in your life who just understand everything, which I'm close. I have a lot of amazing people who are super supportive, but if I don't work, we don't pay the bills, right? And sometimes sometimes people don't get that.
Yeah, and also if I'm thinking that the line is blurry, the people in my life will think that it's non-existent,
of course,
right?
Yeah,
but because I'm also portraying that. And that's where I think it comes over into the vulnerability of what that means for men, right? Of, okay, well, if I don't know where my limitations lie, if I don't know why I'm doing this at all, we'll poke holes in it all day.
Yeah. Well, you have to be so sure. You have to be so sure of it. Nobody else is going to be more sure of what you're doing than you are. There's no, they can't.
Just interrupted you. So
no,
sorry.
You're so good.
I got like so excited.
No, you're good.
I really like to, within Shift Talking and my practice, which is a steady space, I really try to give actionable tips so that we're not just kind of bogged down by this, like, oh, well, just be vulnerable, just talk, just create communication and be effective. I'm wondering if you would be open to going through my SHIFT acronym and giving guidance to men in real time about where they could focus some of their energy when they're just getting started.
Yeah,
so if you can like tap into this like 25, 26, 27-year-old you and give some guidance about that.
Okay, I'm in.
So let's say that let's start with somebody who is recognizing that they want more from their life. They want to be more aware of themselves. They want deeper connection in relationships. They're basically watching their life feel like it's kind of starting to fall apart. They're self-sacrificing to save others, and then the other doesn't save themselves, and then I feel worse, right? Mm-hmm. So if you were to start with their S, which is our self, our sense of self, our self-awareness, our self-efficacy, just like us at our root, what kinds of questions would you suggest that they start with, or what answers could you provide them to like start with who they are at their core?
On a scale of 0 to 10, how much do you believe in your own unique capability of building something in the external world? It's like, how much do you believe, how much self-confidence do you have? Really?
And what if it's bottomed out?
It's okay. Yeah, it's good. If it's bottomed out and you admit it, it's better than you pretending through ego that it's not. That, right? Let's be accurate here. Would you rather the ice be thin and know it, or be thin and you convince yourself it's thick, like the first one, even though it sucks more in the moment? That would be the first question. Second question is, if you were capable of building that amazing external thing in this real world, how worthy would you feel of reaping the benefits of it? So the example we always use is, it takes self-belief to build the castle, brick by brick, right? Every day. It takes self-worth to walk in and say, I did this. Now I deserve all the amazing benefits that come with living here. I would start there. I would probably start with, are you more afraid of success, or are you more afraid of failure? That helps self-awareness, I think. And then I would probably just start on a micro level. I would just start asking why. Why do I want to do this? Why do I want to do that? Why do I want to do that? I talk about this, it's strange, but when I was in between relationships in my mid-20s, I had a lot of situationships. I'm convinced in retrospect, one of the reasons I did is because I wanted to work on vulnerability and I wanted to practice on women. I'm convinced. It's vulnerable enough because we're not dating, but it's practice enough where there are some opportunities that I could be embarrassed. If you're a man and you're struggling with vulnerability with other men, I would start with women. I think it's probably going to be a little bit easier, depending on how you do it. You obviously do it in a positive, constructive, healthy way, but I feel like the judgment is a little bit different when it comes from a woman as opposed to a man. So yeah, those two questions, I loved asking why. I still love asking why. I've had 10 times where I was like, why do I feel so comfortable with you? You've done the work. You've helped other people do the work. Like, this is amazing. I love it. Boom, 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 boom. That's a question. That is just a consistent question in my brain. And then if you are struggling with vulnerability, one, let's identify what vulnerability means to you, because it's something different to everyone. Me saying I don't feel good enough is my vulnerability. Me saying I feel really good at this thing is not me being vulnerable. Alan's the complete opposite. Alan's afraid of success. He doesn't want you to compliment him on what he's great at. And he's great at everything. He will come on here and fail all day, and that doesn't affect him at all. But when he does really well, that's vulnerable for him. We're polar opposites. So what might be vulnerable for you might not be vulnerable for somebody else. So I think that's an important understanding too. It might not even be received as vulnerability. It might not even be received as how you think it's going to be. So yeah, a lot of it's just the identification in the beginning for me.
Yeah. And, I agree. And that's where like the whole shift framework came from is my husband has done so much of this work on himself since he found sobriety 4 years ago. And, of course, just found his people in AA and learned so much about himself and started with who he is. And that's where all of this came from, was I created this kind of persona of him. And I was like, oh, shit, this is kind of just all the people that I work with. And I'm going to pull this over here. But one of the biggest things was that he, through the steps of AA, of course, had to really break down all of this and allow for all of it to be him at the root and stop focusing so much on other people, whether they harmed him, no matter what that part is. And what I really appreciate about the guidance that you're giving here is that while yes, it starts with the self, you are still wanting them to go further in to determine what that self even means and define that for them. Yeah. Because again, if we just start with other people, we're going to constantly muddy and murky the water of what is my identity even at all. Okay, so the next step is H, which is our healing. Healing mainly from the bullshit. And when I talk about healing, it's not this deeper therapeutic experience. It's more so, it can be surface. It can also be deep. It doesn't quite matter. I'm trained as a therapist. I don't practice therapy. And so I'm very aware of like the language that I'm using. So within the healing from the bullshit of that self, where would you go from there? Like what part would you heal first?
I would take ownership for the things that you're capable of taking ownership for constructively. I think it's very easy for somebody to say take 10 out of 10 ownership. Yes, when you have 10 out of 10 relationship with self, I think you can, but I think it's detrimental if you do it too quickly. That, and then as the confidence increases, that's when you look at the stuff that you're not proud of. And you get right with what happened and why it happened and what you would do differently. One of the things that I can't stand is when people mistreat other people. You better believe I remember 99.9% of the times where I've mistreated other people. That's where I need to look. And Alan could ask me on a podcast, hey, remember that time? Yes, I do. Yep, I know exactly which one you're talking about. And we talk about it often. I got to go back and figure out what was going on. Why did I do that? I was looking for significance. Yeah. I was trying to get my needs met, and I did it in a not so constructive way. Let me go back there. Let me take ownership, and then let me own the fact that I can do better. Cool. Like that's my bullshit. Let me get rid of that. And then I think just looking back and realizing how much of the bullshit you took on that was other people's. That is such a big thing. That helped me so much realize like, yeah, I took on a lot of my family's bullshit. A lot of my friends' bullshit. Like I just took on everybody else's, and it was, well, I'll help you. I don't need to work on me. I'll help you work on you. Right?
Yeah, it's a good distraction.
Yeah, I was so good at helping other people. I couldn't help myself to save my life. I could. I just chose not to. That would be another one I would suggest. Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the hardest parts here is not getting bogged down by recognizing mistakes, missteps, and not just shitting on myself for it and then feeling deeper down than I was before.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it has to be constructive.
Yeah.
I'm really capable now of like taking ownership because I've worked a lot on it and I've made a lot of mistakes, obviously. Back then it was like, I'll open the door a little bit and take a look. It's like, that's enough. Mm-hmm. That's good. That's good for today. I'll come back to that later. So yeah, I think we get thrown so many blanket statements. And I think growth in general is such a specific, unique thing where somebody needs the whole blanket and other people need a little corner. Other people aren't even ready for any of the blanket yet. So we just have to figure out to what degree will it be positive? To what degree will it be constructive? And then to your point, to what degree would it be harmful? And make it worse than it currently is.
Yeah. Yeah. And here's where we go into our I, which is innovation.
Okay.
So within the self, we've now recognized, we've asked ourselves these questions. We've healed some of it, right? We've forgiven ourselves. We've given ourselves some grace, right? And now we innovate. Now we try something new and different. Where do they start?
Do something the opposite, like do the opposite thing of what you think you should is what I would suggest. It's really easy to hear advice and say, yeah, I like that. I'll go with that. I'm not saying it's not positive. But there might be a piece of advice that you hear that you are like, nope, I will never do that. Not interested. That's probably where a lot of the growth is hidden. I know a lot of us, it's like, oh, therapy or this or counseling or talking to someone is not where it is. For me, it's where it was. I mean, it was so much of it was there. So that, and then, yeah, lean into a weakness. Again, depending on what your level of self-efficacy and self-worth, like where you are with yourself, but lean into a weakness because you probably don't need to like strengthen your strengths. You're strong there already. Like you're really good at bench press. We got to go do some squats. We got to go do some squats. So I call it specialized learning. wherever you are that your weaknesses are glaring, let's start there. And we could even use room for improvement as opposed to weaknesses. Let's start there, because now you're starting to build a more consistent, strong foundation. So it could be, for me, it was, I started reading Mindsets by Carol Dweck, The Four Tendencies by Gretchen Rubin. I was reading books that just didn't seem to matter at all. Those are the books I recommend the most now, especially to men. I thought it was a waste of time. No, that was some of the best content I ever devoured. So yeah, it would be that. It would be, don't go in the direction that seems the easiest. There's probably a lot of unseen, surprising growth in the direction that you don't really want to go in, and not necessarily from a place of fear, but like, I shouldn't need that. Even the fact that we said I shouldn't need that, you probably feel like you do to some degree. Let's just dip our toe. That's it. Mm-hmm. Just dip our toe.
Yeah. And you bring us perfectly into our F, which is fortitude. That like once we, well, tell me what comes up for you with that.
Oh, fortitude. I'm ready to get after it. Just intensity.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's where, for me, that's why I, of course, one shift it had to make sense. We needed a vowel in there. Of course, the other part is I couldn't quite build that grit, that mental grit, the mental flexibility and reset until I tried something new and different. Right. And then allowed myself to leave room for failure, because I was really bad at that. Mm. Right. Like I didn't know how to do poorly without thinking that like I just suck at everything and I'm just not going to do well anyway. So why try? It was through that of implementing, right? To your point about implementing something that goes against what I think will benefit me. And then whether it works out or not, regardless, there is kind of that kind of like brain building moment of, oh, I still tried something new and different and I didn't die. Mm-hmm. Okay, so now I can try something new and different again and kind of repeat through the S, the H, the I as many times as I need to in order to build this ability to withstand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What I say all the time is when you're fear chasing, it's not about accomplishing the goal. It's just about doing the thing. Like you got rejected. That was the point. The point wasn't to get whatever. The point was to feel the feels of the rejections, to feel the feels of the fear. Like that's what we're doing in the first place. The result doesn't matter. It's not about the result. It's about the effort that we put in. What's your definition of fortitude? Grit?
Not grit in that sense, more so just my ability to, it's of course more mental, but it's my ability to withstand and know that I can try again.
Okay.
Right. Like that fortitude for me, and the way that I define it is allowing for missteps and allowing for ways that aren't super ideal to not bog me too far down, that I can still like, okay, like I can withstand, I can move through, I can do it anyway.
Yeah, the only thing I could say to that is you just break your fears into micro fears, and then just dip your toe. And to your point, it's like, that wasn't as bad. When I was like really trying to go to the next level, I was like, all right, I feel like I'm working on myself. I'm starting to feel pretty good about myself. I remember I got dressed up, I got a haircut, and I went to the mall, and I was like, I'm just going to talk to strangers. That's it. I'm not trying to get a phone number. I'm not trying to get any. I'm just going to talk to strangers. That helped me so much. Because the worst case was me not going. Me going was a win. And anything else that happened was just beneficial. So yeah, break a big fear, break a big discomfort, break a big uncertainty into micro ones, and it's like Pac-Man, just bap, bap, bap. And then you're just going to grow and you're going to grow. We always say that oftentimes the ego is what stops us from growing because we're almost embarrassed to set embarrassingly small goals. Growth is personal. Nobody else is going to see it anyway. You're going to feel really, really good about it. So yeah, that's what I would say about fortitude.
Yeah, I love that. I am very rejection sensitive. I will even like perceive someone as potentially rejecting me and be like, it happened.
Same.
It's just so fast.
Yeah.
So what I started doing, and I started this with my son because we just relocated here to Bay Area 3 months ago. And he's starting a new school, meeting all new friends. And it's just different people out here. Like it's not a surface level. We came from Las Vegas. That's like very surface. And he was having a hard time making friends no matter what shoes he had and, you know, that kind of thing. Like, it was about who he is at his core. And he was like, oh, look, like, I don't think so. So he and I started with anyone who we see at the grocery store, walking past us on our walks on these trails, whatever it is, you say hi to everyone.
Yeah.
Some people will say hi back. Some people will look at you like you're crazy. And some people will just flat out ignore you. And I was trying to, for both of us, to build that ability to like have people just not acknowledge us, be rejected in that moment, and still allow for like, oh, okay, on to the next one. Like, let's keep this moving. And so then he would come home and be like, I did that at school and so many people said hi and, you know, whatever. And it really built this. And now his kid's thriving. I'm so proud of him. It's those kinds of things, right? Of like, I like that of I'm going to go out here and I'm just going to talk to people. I don't get that far. I'm like, I'm going to give a hello. Like,
Well, it's a great
scary
start.
enough for me. Yeah.
It's a great start. I always say when you're going through the checkout line, try to make the person laugh. That's it. And I've had people laugh at me. They're like, that's it? Yeah, no, that's where you start. Yeah, sure. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? That's like my favorite thing in the world, is trying to make someone's day, see what happens. But to your point, some people aren't having it, and that's okay. It's not about me. I don't know what's going on behind the scenes for them. So it's probably something that they're dealing with that's manifesting towards me. And the more you experience it, the more you understand that. And I think then you really start to have empathy. It's like, this isn't a me thing. This isn't about me. This is about their life and what's going on with them. And I can have empathy for that for sure.
Yeah. We are the main character of our own experience. And
100%.
we tend to assume that other people view us in that way too.
100%.
Yeah. Okay. And then this brings us, of course, to transformation, which is our T. Not transformation of everything, but more so these micro transformations of we're never done. And even just my going out and like saying hi, there was a part of me that transformed because of that fear was faced. It was okay. And it, more so than who said hi and who ignored me, it was more so that I kept a commitment to myself, and that felt really good.
Yes.
So through this whole process of these men looking for more vulnerability, or really anyone in general, but men especially, there's that loneliness there. We did the S and the healing through it. We tried something new and different, going against what it is that we think we should do. We build the fortitude of knowing that that's possible. And what comes up for you with that T, with the transformation?
Now that we know and we have practiced what's new and different, we have to gamify and habitualize it. And if
Tell me more about the gamifying.
We have, it started for me, or I tracked 5 habits. And at the end of the day, I would tally it up. I did 4 out of 5, 80%. Cool. 80% growth day. Awesome. And now it's like, it's a whole thing. There's a whole bunch of it. But yeah, I habitualized. I had something called fear chasing. So every day I tried to go out of my way to do something that scared me. And if I did, I would give myself a check mark. Cool. Did that. And then gamifying it, like give yourself a percentage. And when it gets easy, you up the ante a little bit. All right, now the fear chasing thing's a little bit different. Now it's, something else. I got to raise the bar a little bit. And then the more you do that, the more normal it becomes. And eventually you forget. I mean, you and I have never met. We're 2 strangers. I have had thousands of conversations with strangers. That was like my deepest fear at one point. Now I don't even think about it anymore. It's just like we ride a bike and we don't think about it, or you talk on the phone and drive a car, and you end up getting to your destination without knowing how you got there. Like it's normal, right? So yeah, I think if we can make something normal, you forget about the fact that it wasn't normal. And I think if you habitualize and gamify it, you're probably going to be, you're going to be feeling good. You're going to be growing. You're going to like it. You're going to see the changes, and the people around you are going to be like, what in the hell are you doing? Like, good for you. And that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the hardest parts of doing the work, is that it's more abstract.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time people want to see physical results, and you do. It just is so much more subtle, and it's hard to pinpoint when those things happen if we're not paying attention.
Yeah, I'm a feeler, so it's like I feel different. So like that,
yeah.
Cool. I'm good there. I'm a feeler.
But
Alan's
you're in
a
your
thinker.
body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I can tell. I've gotten a lot of compliments from people on certain things. They're like, oh, you're good at this. You're good at this. I don't care what you think I am. I care what I feel like when I'm doing it. I don't want the trophy. I want to feel like I can get the trophy. I don't need it. It's internal for me. Most of the issues that I had were a lack of self-awareness. I just didn't know myself. I didn't understand myself. I'm really good at taking new action. For me, it was the blockage of not knowing what action to take. That's a whole nother thing. I think implementation and awareness that's a whole piece of it. But yeah.
Yeah, I hear that. So how are you, of course, you have this podcast. How are you working within mentorship for people?
We do a lot of So the podcast, we do an episode every single day. The goal for that is, if I'm going to tell you can get a little bit better every day, I better be there helping you get a little bit better every day.
So you two are recording a podcast every single day?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we drop an episode every day. And it's great. It's like, you want to talk about growth for yourself? Just go do a bunch of podcast episodes. I'm growing more than anybody is in the community. I'm very blessed to have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So that's a big piece of it. And then we have a Facebook group. We do free monthly events. We have a free book club. It's like, we want to help wherever you are on your personal development journey, but we also want to help you wherever you are in your financial journey. Not everybody can hire a coach right now. And I'm acutely aware of that. Like, circumstantially, things are hard and money's tight. So if you are the person, and this is going from the hero to the guide. If you do really want to grow and you're committed to your growth and you're ready for it, there's a bunch of opportunities. You just got to come and dip your toe in and see what you like. And then, if you want to dive in. There's a lot of mentorship going on at NLU for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's needed so desperately. And I really respect what you guys are doing. I was able to have a one-to-one call after that with Alan as well. And there's even it was 15 minutes. And within there's still these like parts that still kind of like are working their way through the cogs in my brain. I'm like, oh, right. Like, that was really important. That's helpful. Like, this is really good, And I'm likely to join you guys as well.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're amazing and you're doing amazing work in the world. And we love surrounding ourselves with people who are on their mission, and you're very clearly on yours.
Thank you much, Kevin.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome.
Oh, I appreciate you. I would love to have you back in the future about certain topics in particular. I love just starting with like a very broad kind of thing and seeing where it takes us.
I'm in. I'll come back as much as you would like to have me.
Beautiful, Kevin. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
I appreciate you back.
See you soon.